Hey y'all, this is Jeremiah, pastor at Centennial ARP. Thanks for tuning in for today's video devotional, Proverbs chapter 18, verse 14. A man's spirit will endure sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear? It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? The cliche terms that are so true in today's society of toxicity, of negativity, of these words that almost ring blandly because we hear them so much through the social media space and the news space. And yet, if you've ever experienced the death of 1,000 paper cuts because of a toxic spew around you, it is unbearable. We oftentimes go through trial and tribulation physically with sickness. We've been in a pandemic. We've been, dealing with COVID, and people have been getting sick, and some have been hospitalized. Others have just had the flu-like symptoms that just drive them nuts, right? We've been locked in our homes, which in this kind of physical feeling of unable to kind of get out and be what we would consider to be normal, all these different things. And yet, though that is very difficult, that reality of a crushed spirit is so much deeper and so much more difficult. And I wonder if sometimes we do a lot of justice to our physical because it's physical, right? We can see it, we can feel it. We move around. There's an obviousness to it, but there is a reality that because the spirit can't be seen, we somehow try to hide it away, and yet it's truly the driving force of who we are. It's not our mind, right? Our mind is actually quite physical. You could pop my skull cap off, you could see my mind, right? It's an organ, your brain. And so I'm not speaking of depression, speaking of your spirit, of this reality of who you are. The Hebrew word that we translate in the Bible as heart, we do that because it would be weirder if we translated it the other way, but I think it actually rings truer because it's not like our beating heart, right? It's our guts. That's the heart, is really kind of this reference to the guts. It's this gut feeling. If you've ever had that, I sometimes live my life on my gut feelings, and that's really not something that's bad. It's others would call it intuition. Intuitive people would live their lives like this. Instinctual people, this gut feeling, this moment where you just right, and you maneuver something because of that. And when we begin to think about that feeling being beaten down and crushed, where we're no longer intuitive. We no longer have intuition. We no longer have spirit and soul. That's the quenching of the spirit. That's the moment when the world would put the boot on the back of us and say, I've won. But the world is not victorious. The world is defeated by the true spiritual movement of the Lord Jesus. He came so physically to do this work for us that is so spiritual. Today, as you're thinking through this proverb, consider what it means to begin to mash the physical and the spiritual together, and to consider with me the reality of sickness or of physical difficulty and of spiritual difficulty, of soul level difficulty. We probably give a lot of credence to our body, but are you giving a lot of credence to your soul, or are you thinking about it at all? Think on these things. Grow in your spirit. Stand up in your spirit. And if you're crushed in your spirit, look to the Lord Jesus, who rips you out of any defeat or death or turmoil, who says literally, I have overcome the world. Look to Jesus and be blessed today.